The talk is on the 30 planes of existence. And this talk is should be quite interesting to most of us, because it concerns us very much, where we take rebirth. And this talk actually should be quite a long talk. So I probably, to do justice, I would not be able to complete the talk in one session. So I'll try to do half of it tonight, and then we arrange for another night to discuss the rest of this topic. Now, very often, if you read Buddhist books, you find that they talk about 31 planes of existence. But tonight, I insist that it is 30 planes of existence. It is not 31 planes of existence. The Buddha's teachings has been handed down to us 2,500 years. So there has been a lot of later interpretations of the Dhamma, and this is one of them. Now, why I say it is 30 planes of existence and not the 31 planes is because there is one plane of existence called the Asura plane, which has been added later, and it has been added as one of the woeful planes of existence. In the original Buddha's teachings, there are three woeful planes of existence called the hell realm, the animal realm, and the ghost realm. But later books added a fourth called the Asura realm. And they say that these Asuras can be found as ghosts and also as hell beings. But this is not true according to the early discourses of the Buddha, because in the Digha Nikaya, Sutta number 24, it is mentioned that the lowest grade of Asuras are called Kalakanja Asuras. And in the same Digha Nikaya, Sutta number 20, it is mentioned that at one time there were many devas who came in the sky to see the Buddha, to show respect to the Buddha. It is also mentioned that the Kalakanja Asuras also came. That means Kalakanja Asuras are also devas, heavenly beings. So since they are the lowest grade, there cannot be any lower Asuras, which means that all Asuras are devas, heavenly beings. That's why you have 30 planes of existence. Now these 30 planes of existence is also called the 5 destinations of rebirth. 5 Gati, G-A-T-I, 5 destinations of rebirth. This is found in the early discourses of the Buddha. But later books also talk about 6 destinations of rebirth. And these 6 are also because of that Asura realm. And in the Mahayana books, they always talk about Liu Tao Un Hui, Liu Tao, whereas actually the original is Wu Tao, 5 destinations, not 6. Now these 30 planes of existence are found in every world system, and each world system, according to the Buddha, consists of one sun. One heavenly sun, which means that if we look into the sky at night, every star is a sun. So every star represents one world system. And then the Buddha talked about the small 1,000-fold world system. That means about 1,000 suns consists of one small 1,000-fold world system, which nowadays modern science calls a galaxy of about 1,000 stars. And the Buddha also talked about 1,000 of these galaxies, which he calls the middling 1,000-fold world system. There's 1,000 of these galaxies. And then again he talked about the great 1,000-fold world system. That means 1,000 of these middling world systems. So because the Buddha's psychic power is so great, he could see all these world systems. And you can see the truth of the Buddha's teachings in the fact that certain things that the Buddha said 2,500 years ago, nowadays is verified by science. For example, the Buddha said that space is boundless. You cannot find the limits of space. And nowadays, people like Professor Stephen Hawking also is saying the same thing. The Buddha also said that time has no beginning and time has no end in the early discourses of the Buddha. And this is exactly what Professor Stephen Hawking is also saying nowadays. Time has no beginning and no end. We come back to this one world system of these 30 planes of existence. How do you get these 30 planes of existence? Now the Buddha said that every world system has 3 levels. The first one is the Kama Bhava. Kama refers to sensual desire. So Kama Bhava, you can say, is a sensual realm. Sensual realm, it is called the sensual realm because sensual desire dominates all beings. So because sensual desire dominates all beings, the beings in this sensual realm are divided into male and female. Male and female, so you have this difference of sex. And then the second level is called the Rupa Bhava. This is the form realm. Rupa Bhava, form realm. This is a unisex world where there is no differentiation of the sexes because these beings here are not interested in sex. They are heavenly beings, all in the form realm are all heavenly beings. And these heavenly beings have shining bodies. Their bodies are full of light. And a person can only be reborn in this form realm if you have attained deep states of samadhi, deep states of concentration called jhana. Jhana are states of mental absorption or states of mental brightness where your mind becomes one-pointed so that it is concentrated and the mind becomes bright, lights up. And then the third level in every world system is called the Arupa Bhava, means formless realm. These beings here are reborn here because they have attained these formless meditative states of absorption, very deep states of absorption where the mind opens up. The lowest one is called the base of boundless space, where the mind opens up like boundless space. And the second one is base of boundless consciousness, then base of nothingness and neither perception or non-perception. Here, although it's called formless, they are supposed to have very fine body, so fine and so huge that other beings cannot see them. They are so fine that other beings cannot see them. So they are said to be formless. But they should probably have a body because in one of the discourses of the Buddha said, if you have consciousness, consciousness always comes along with the body and feelings and perception. So these are the 3 levels of existence in any world system. Now coming back to the lowest, the sensual realm, here you have 10 planes. 3 are the woeful planes. The lowest 3 are the woeful planes consisting of the hell realm, the animal realm and the ghost realm. And then slightly higher than that is the Manusya or Manusa, human plane. And then above the human plane we have 6 Deva planes, 6 heavenly 6 heavens above us. So 3 woeful planes plus the Manusya plus the 6 heavens above us, 10. So this sensual realm, we have 10 planes of existence. Then in the form realm, you have 16 planes of existence. 16 planes. consisting of the four jhana levels. The first jhana, you have 3 people who attain the first jhana. They can be reborn into 3 levels. And then the second jhana, also 3 levels. And then the third jhana, you have 3 levels. And then the fourth jhana, you have more than that. You have 7 levels. So that makes up 16 heavens, 16 planes in the form realm. All the beings here, they have their body consists of bright light. You don't see a body like us with a head, with the hands and all that. You just see a ball of light. Then the third level is the formless realm. Here you have 4 planes, 4 heavens, corresponding to the 4 levels of formless jhana. So 10, the sensual realm, 10 planes, and then the form realm, 16 planes, and then the formless realm, 4 planes, adds up to 30 planes of existence. As I said again, these can be also defined as 5 destinations of rebirth. That means the lowest is the hell realm, then the animal realm, then the ghost realm, then the human realm, and then above us, the Deva realms. Actually, the Deva realms, there are 26. 26 out of these 30 planes of existence are Deva or heavenly planes. And only 4 are not heavenly planes. But most of the beings in existence are in the lower realms. As you go the higher heavens, you find less and less beings. It's hard to go to heaven, but very easy to go to hell, go to the animal realm. So it's like a pyramid. The higher you go, it's more, there are lesser beings. But the lower you go, there are more beings. I will discuss these 30 planes of existence in terms of the 5 destinations of rebirth. In the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 12, the Buddha gave similes for the 5 destinations of rebirth. The Buddha gave this simile that a man on a very hot day was walking a long distance and he was tired and thirsty and hungry on that hot day. And then he walked and walked, and then he fell into a deep hole, and the hole was deeper than a man's height, so that he could not climb out. And this first simile was this deep hole was full of glowing charcoal. So as he fell into this deep hole, he was burned by this charcoal, and he was suffering, and he couldn't come out. This is a simile for hell. When you are in hell, you are in pain and suffering every moment, just like this man in that pit of glowing charcoal, coals, and you're suffering. Then the second simile the Buddha gave is of the animal realm. And the animal realm is like a man also on a hot day, he's walking a long distance and he's tired and thirsty and hungry, and he fell into another hole deeper than a man's height, and this hole was full of shit, excrement, and he was in that shit hole, swallowing the shit and trying to climb out, and couldn't climb out. That's a simile for the animal realm. So it's also a lot of suffering, but at least not so painful as the hell realm, slightly better. Then the simile for the ghost realm, the Buddha said, he said another man also on a hot day, very tired, thirsty and hungry, looking for a place to rest. And then he came across a tree with little leaves, not much leaves. and he took a rest under the tree. But because the tree didn't have much leaves to shelter him, he was still feeling very hot and bothered by the heat, and still thirsty and hungry and tired under the tree. But that is the simile for the ghost realm. So you see, at least the ghost realm is much better than the animal and the hell realm. Then the simile for the human realm is, the Buddha said, another man, also in the same situation, tired and thirsty and hungry on a hot day, came across a beautiful tree with a lot of leaves and very shady. So he rested under the tree, and he was shaded from the hot sun. So he was enjoying himself under the tree. That's a simile for the human realm. So actually we are having a very good life. We compare ourselves with the ghost, the animal and the hell beings. So we should not complain about life when we compare ourselves with other beings. And then the fifth one, the simile for the heavens, is, the Buddha said, another man also tired, thirsty and hungry on a hot day came across a beautiful bungalow, mansion, and he walked inside the mansion and he found this big house inside, so well furnished, with a comfortable bed and all that, and he went to sleep on the bed. So he was enjoying himself in that house, shaded from the sun and everything. So that is the simile for the heavens. So this similes would make us understand how the beings in the woeful planes suffer, and the human and the heavenly planes are quite comfortable. That is why the three woeful planes of existence, hell, animal and ghost realm, are called the Dugati. Just now I talked about 5 Gati, 5 destinations. Dugati is a woeful destination. And then the human realm and the heavenly realm are called Sugati, happy destinations of rebirth. So now I will go into the details of the hell realm. If a person has done a lot of evil karma, evil actions by body or mouth or thoughts, then he is reborn in hell. And when he is reborn in hell, those heavenly beings seize him and bring him before King Yama. King Yama in Cantonese we call Yen Lo, in Mandarin called Yen Lo Wang. And then all the accusations of his evil deeds are laid before him. And then this King Yama will question him why he did not heed the warnings given to him in his previous life. And then this man is surprised. He said, I didn't see any warnings given to me. And then King Yama said, did you not see an old man, very old, wrinkled, hunchback, white hair or no hair, tottering, weak? He said, yeah, I saw an old man. So King Yama said, when you saw this old man, you should have realized that one day you will be just like this old man. And one day, since you become old like that, you should have been more careful on your actions. Then the second messenger to warn him was supposed to be a sick man. Saw somebody very sick, for example, somebody with cancer, terminally ill with cancer. And then we should realize also there's a great possibility that one day also we will be sick like that. And then the third one is a corpse. If you go to a funeral, you see a corpse, then you must understand that one day our body also will turn into the corpse. So we should have been more careful. So after questioning him about these warning messengers, then the King Yama becomes silent. Now this description of the torture in hell is given very clearly in the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 130, Devadutta Sutta. Actually, most religions talk about heaven and hell, and so does the Buddhist religion. But the Buddha has talked in great detail about these different planes of existence, because he himself, as I will read to you later, because he himself, he said he has seen and he has known for himself. It's not that he has heard it from somebody, because the Buddha had this great psychic power to see all these things. So the description of the torture in hell, I will read to you, so that you can get a very good idea exactly what the Buddha said. In the sutta, the Buddha said, now the wardens of hell torture him with the fivefold transfixing. They drive a red-hot iron stake through one hand. They drive a red-hot iron stake through the other hand. They drive a red-hot iron stake through one foot. They drive a red-hot iron stake through the other foot. They drive a red-hot iron stake through his belly. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings. Yet he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. I'll stop here for a moment. So you see here, when you suffer in hell, it's not like the human plane. In the human plane, when we are tortured like that, the pain is so great we cannot stand. We just die off. But in hell, you cannot die. You have to suffer. You cannot die. It's only later books, sometimes they say that some beings in hell, they die, and then after that they are reborn again. But that is later books. Now to continue with the sutta. Next, the wardens of hell throw him down and pare him with axes. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings. Yet he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. Next, the wardens of hell set him with his feet up and his head down and pare him with axes. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings. Yet he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. That means they take this, what do you call that in Cantonese? This adze. Like the old one, they used to hold like that, and then they plane the wood, How? How? Yeah. So they plane the person's flesh away, and yet he cannot die. To continue, next the wardens of hell harness him to a chariot and drive him back and forth across burning ground, blazing and glowing. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings. Yet he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. Next, the wardens of hell make him climb up and down a great mound of burning coals, blazing and glowing. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings, yet he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. Next, the wardens of hell take him feet up and head down and plunge him into a red hot metal cauldron, burning, blazing and glowing. He is cooked there in a swirl of froth, and as he is being cooked there in a swirl of froth, he is swept now up, now down, and now across. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings, yet he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. Let's stop here for a moment. This one is like he's cooked, in a big pot, just like when you cook rice. What do you see? The grains of rice go up and down, go sideways, and so in the same way, this person is cooked. He goes up and down and goes sideways and all that. Now to continue. Next, the wardens of hell throw him into the great hell. Now as to that great hell, monks, it has 4 corners and is built with 4 doors, one set in each side, walled up with iron all around, and shut in with an iron roof. Its floor as well is made of iron, and heated till it glows with fire. The range is a full 1,000 kilometers, which it covers all pervasively. I stop here for a moment. So this great hell is like a cube. It is 1,000 kilometers long and 1,000 kilometers wide and 1,000 kilometers high, and it's all iron all around. The roof is iron, the floor is iron, the walls are iron, with four doors on the four sides. 1,000 kilometers is a long distance, you know. For example, it's like the whole of West Malaysia. So imagine that being in that hell, in that great hell, he's walled around like a prison, and he's trying to find his way out. He has to walk one end to the other. Is 1,000 kilometers so far, you know. And then he sees one door, but the door is closed, locked. So he walks another place to go and find another door. Then he finds it's locked again. And all the time he's being burned there, you know. We continue with the description. Now the flames that surge from the great hell's eastern wall dash against its western wall. The flames that surge out from its western wall dash against its eastern wall. The flames that surge out from its northern wall dash against its southern wall. The flames that surge out from its southern wall dash against its northern wall. The flames that dash out from the bottom dash against the top. The flames that surge out from the top dash against the bottom. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings. Yet he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. Sometime or other, monks, at the end of a long period, there comes an occasion when the great hell's eastern door is open. He runs towards it, treading quickly. As he does so, his outer skin burns, his inner skin burns, his flesh burns, his sinews burn, his bones turn to smoke, and it is the same when his foot is uplifted. When at long last he reaches the door, then it is shut. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings, yet he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. Sometime or other, at the end of a long period, there comes an occasion when the great hell's western door is open, and the same thing happens. He struggles and tries to run to that door, and it closes. When his northern door is open, when his southern door is open, he runs towards it, treading quickly, but at long last he reaches the door, then it is shut. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings, yet he does not die, so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. So you see, I stop here, this sutta to explain. So you see this poor fellow in hell, suddenly he hears the door opening, you know, and the door might be very far away, and he runs as fast as he can towards the door. By the time he reaches the door closes. So you imagine he's being burned, he's suffering physically, and then when he reaches the door is closed. How much mental suffering he has, you can imagine. And this, after a long time, means probably after a few years, you know, the door is open once. Now to continue. Sometime or other, monks, at the end of a long period, there comes an occasion when the great hell's eastern door is open. He runs towards it, treading quickly. As he does so, his outer skin burns, his inner skin burns, his flesh burns, his sinews burn, his bones turn to smoke. And this is the same when his foot is uplifted. He comes out by that door. Immediately next to the great hell is the vast hell of excrement. He falls into that. In that hell of excrement, needle-mouthed creatures bore through his outer skin, and bore through his inner skin, and bore through his flesh, and bore through his sinews, and bore through his bones, and devour his marrow. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings, yet he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. Immediately next to the hell of excrement is the vast hell of hot embers. He falls into that. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings, yet he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. Immediately next to the hell of hot embers is the vast wood of Simbali trees. 10 kilometers high, bristling with thorns, 16 inches long, burning, blazing and glowing. They make him climb up and down those trees. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings, yet he does not die so long as the evil action has not exhausted its result. Immediately next to the wood of Simbali trees is a vast wood of sword-leaf trees. He goes into that. The leaves stirred by the wind cut off his hands and cut off his feet and cut off his hands and feet. They cut off his ears and cut off his nose and cut off his ears and nose. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings. That he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. Immediately next to the wood of sword-leaf trees is a great river of caustic water or acid. He falls into that. There he is swept upstream and he is swept downstream, and he is swept upstream and downstream. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings. That he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. Next, the wardens of hell pull him out with a hook, and setting him on the ground, they ask him, "Good man, what do you want?" He says, "I am hungry, venerable sirs." Then the wardens of hell prise open his mouth with red-hot iron tongs, burning, blazing and glowing, and they throw into his mouth a red-hot metal ball, burning, blazing and glowing. It burns his lips, it burns his mouth, it burns his throat, it burns his stomach, and it passes out below, carrying with it his large and small intestines. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings. That he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. Next, the wardens of hell ask him, "Good man, what do you want?" He says, "I am thirsty, venerable sirs." Then the wardens of hell prise open his mouth with red-hot iron tongs, burning, blazing and glowing, and they pour into his mouth molten copper, burning, blazing and glowing. It burns his lips, it burns his mouth, it burns his throat, it burns his stomach, and it passes out below, carrying with it his large and small intestines. There he feels painful, racking, piercing feelings, yet he does not die so long as that evil action has not exhausted its result. Then the wardens of hell throw him back again into the great hell. So you see, this poor guy in hell, he was suffering in that great hell and trying to get out of one of the doors, and he manages to get out one of the doors, but he fell into the hell of excrement. And in that shit, you have all these worms that can penetrate his flesh into his bone and suck his bone marrow. And he is there for many years suffering, swimming about in the hell of excrement or shit, trying to find his way out. And one day he manages to get out of that hell of excrement, and he falls into the hell of hot embers where he is burned. And he's burned there for many years and trying to get out. One day he gets out of that hell, falls into the wood of Simbali trees. And there he is caught and he's forced to climb up the tree, which is 1 kilometer high, with a lot of thorns, 16 inches long, and burning and blazing and glowing. He climbs up and down the trees for a few years and trying to get out. One day he manages to get out, goes into the wood of Simbali trees, where he suffers because the leaves cut his hands and feet and his nose, etc. Then after many years there, he manages to get out. He falls into the great river of acid, where he is burned, and he's swept up and down. And then one day, after a few years, he's caught by the wardens of hell and tortured again by this metal ball thrown into his mouth and this molten metal. And then after that, they catch him and throw him back into the great hell again. So you see, he went one round, one hell after the other, went back to the great hell again. Then don't know how many times he has to go round and round like that. And according to the Buddha, a person in hell can stay there for hundreds of thousands of years. Hundreds of thousands of years, when you are suffering every moment, can be like eternity. When we are suffering, time seems to go very slowly. For example, at night when we cannot sleep, the night seems so long. But when you are happy, there seems like to be not enough time. That's why you see, like in other religions, like in Christianity, they say if you fall into hell, you are there for eternity. Actually, it seems like eternity because time is so long. Now, the Buddha said, the suffering in hell, nothing can compare to it. Even if you are stabbed by 300 spears, the pain that you experience is nothing at all compared to the pain in hell. And in hell, in one of the suttas, the Buddha said that you actually know what you did that caused you to be in that hell. It's not that you do not know. You realize. Firstly, when you fall into that hell, all these accusations are brought before you. What you did, for example, that you ill-treated your parents, or you killed some holy men, or you hunted animals, shot them, hundreds of animals, or you slaughtered pigs or buffaloes, etc. So when you're in hell, you actually realize what you did. And also in one sutta, the Majjhima Nikaya, Dhananjani Sutta, number 97, it is mentioned that if you are going to hell, the wardens of hell come and drag you off, That's why, like the Chinese believe, they say Ngao Thao Ma Min, the buffalo head and the horse face coming to bring you to hell. It seems to be true because I have actually met people who told me that their father, few days before dying, actually did see these beings come. So sometimes some of these things we don't scoff at it. And then sometimes some people who are going to hell, just before they die, you can also know. For example, some of them at the last moment they may scream. If you, I don't know, in a position like me as a monk, I happen maybe I get more opportunity to talk to people about all these things, and I hear many instances of people. For example, there's one lady in Singapore. One couple told me their friend was dying of cancer. And she used, the last few days before she died, she used to suddenly cry, and they asked her why. She said she saw herself tied up in chains. And she was asking why they tie her up in chains. And this happened a few times. That means probably she was going to be reborn in a place where she would be tied up in chains and probably tortured. And then many of us know, like butcher, people who kill pigs for a living, and just before they die, they show signs of behaving like a pig also. And it seems that it's very difficult for them to die. You have to show them the knife, the butcher's knife. Then only they die, because they're going to be probably chopped up like the way they chopped up the pig. So this is a description of hell. Then the slightly better than hell is the animal realm. And the animal realm, animal we are able to see around us. And the Buddha said in the Samyutta Nikaya that there is no other single group so diverse as the creatures of the animal world. And the Buddha said they are so diverse because they are all thought out by mind. And mind is even more diverse or more complex. It's because our mind is so complex that we take rebirth in these forms. For example, the Buddha said there are some beings that move very stealthily, very sneakily. And for example, snakes or rats or some of these low creatures. And it's because these beings were behaving like that, very sneaky, very cunning and all that. That's why they are reborn in those realms. And you can see that animals, they have a violent nature. They have a very angry nature, hot-tempered. They are also very greedy, lustful. And so you can understand people with that kind of nature who are very greedy, lustful, hot-tempered, don't keep the precepts, don't follow the law, gangsters, etc. then they are reborn as animals. And there is some description of the animal realm also in the Majjhima Nikaya, in the Bala Pandita Sutta, when the Buddha said, monks, there are animals that feed on grass. They eat by cropping fresh or dry grass with their teeth. And what animals feed on grass? Elephants, horses, cattle, donkeys, goats and deer, and any other such animals. A fool who formerly delighted in taste here and did evil actions here, on the dissolution of the body after death, he appears in the company of animals that feed on grass. There are animals that feed on dung. They smell dung from a distance and run to it thinking, we can eat, we can eat. Just as Brahmins run to the smell of a sacrifice thinking, we can eat, we can eat. So too these animals that feed on dung smell dung from a distance and run to it thinking, we can eat, we can eat. And what animals feed on dung? Fowls, pigs, dogs and jackals and any other such animals. A fool who formerly delighted in taste here and did evil actions here, on the dissolution of the body after death, he appears in the company of animals that feed on dung. There are animals that are born, age and die in darkness. And what animals are born, age and die in darkness? Moths, maggots and earthworms and any other such animals. A fool who formerly delighted in taste here and did evil actions here, on the dissolution of the body after death, he appears in the company of animals that are born, age and die in darkness. There are animals that are born, age and die in water. And what animals are born, age and die in water? Fish, turtles and crocodiles and any other such animals. A fool who formerly delighted in taste here and did evil actions here, on the dissolution of the body after death, he appears in the company of animals that are born, age and die in water. There are animals that are born, age and die in filth or excrement. And what animals are born, age and die in filth? Those animals that are born, age and die in a rotten fish, or in a rotten corpse, or in rotten dough, or in a cesspit, or in a sewer. A fool who formerly delighted in taste here and did evil actions here, on the dissolution of the body after death, he appears in the company of animals that are born, age and die in filth. Monks, I could tell you in many ways about the animal kingdom, so much so that it is hard to find a simile for the suffering in the animal kingdom. Suppose a man threw into the sea a yoke with a hole in it, and the east wind carried it to the west, and the west wind carried it to the east, and the north wind carried it to the south, and the south wind carried it to the north. Suppose there were a blind turtle that came up once at the end of each century. What do you think, monks? Would that blind turtle put his neck into that yoke with one hole in it? And they said, he might, Bhante, sometime or other at the end of a long period. And the Buddha said, monks, the blind turtle would take less time to put his neck into that yoke with a single hole in it than a fool, once gone to perdition, would take to regain the human state, I say. Why is that? Because there's no practicing of the Dhamma there, no practicing of what is righteous, no doing of what is wholesome, no performance of merit. There mutual devouring prevails and the slaughter of the weak. I'll stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying that this simile of a yoke is that kind of wood where the oxen, the bullock cart, the bull has to drag the bullock cart. The bull is tied with this piece of wood that goes around his neck, and so he has to pull that. So that is that yoke with a hole in it. So this piece of wood with a hole in it, the size of the neck of a bull, is in the ocean, and the ocean is so vast, and this wood is swept about by the wind. And then there is a blind turtle in that ocean. And once in every 100 years, the blind turtle will surface to breathe. What is the chance of the blind turtle putting the head through the hole. The chances are very slim because the ocean is so big and the turtle is blind and the wood is being swept here and there. But the Buddha said it's easier for the turtle to put the head through the hole in the wood than for a person who has gone to the hell or to the animal realm to get back the human form. Because in those places like the animal realm or in hell, there's no chance to do any good. Only like the animals, they only do evil by eating each other, killing each other. The Buddha also said, to read the sutta again, if some time or other at the end of a long period, that fool comes back to the human state, it is into a low family that he is reborn, into a family of outcasts or hunters or bamboo workers or cartwrights or scavengers, one that is poor with little to eat and drink, surviving with difficulty, where he scarcely finds food and clothing, and he is ugly, unsightly and misshapen, sickly, blind, cripple-handed, lame or paralyzed. He gets no food, drink, clothes, vehicles, garlands, scents and unguents, bed, lodging and light. And if he misconducts himself in body, speech and mind, having done that, on the dissolution of the body after death, he reappears in a state of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell. I'll stop here for a moment. So if a person who comes up from the animal or the hell realm is reborn as a human being, and because of his bad karma, he'll be reborn in a very difficult circumstances, and his body might be misshapen and unsightly also. And then he finds it very difficult to get a living. And if he is so foolish as to misconduct himself again in body, speech and mind, then he falls back into the animal or hell realm again. And the Buddha said, monks, suppose a gambler at the very first unlucky throw loses his child and his wife and all his property, and furthermore goes into slavery himself. Yet an unlucky throw such as that is negligible. It is a far more unlucky throw when a fool who misconducts himself in body, speech and mind, on the dissolution of the body after death, reappears in a state of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell. This is the complete perfection of the fool's grave. That's the end of the sutta. So you see, if a person is so foolish as to misconduct himself, then he is what the Buddha calls a perfect fool. Just as a gambler, he gambles, the first throw only, he loses all his property and his wife and children, and he himself goes into slavery himself. And that is terrible already. But the Buddha said that is nothing compared to a person who does bad evil karma and falls into hell, to the animal realm. And then the Buddha also said in the Anguttara Nikaya, there is no other bondage which is such an obstacle to winning liberation as rebirth in hell or in the animal realm. Because there's no chance to practice the Dhamma in hell or the animal realm. That's why it's a great bondage to be reborn there. But then sometimes animals, you can see some of them also have a human nature. What we call Yen Sing, is it? Yao Yen Sing in Cantonese. For example, dogs. Last time it seems I had a grandmother, when she was young, she was staying in Kuala Lumpur, Pudu. Pudu in those old days, they had a slaughterhouse there. And they used to pull these cows past her house to the slaughterhouse to slaughter. And she used to see these cows being dragged to slaughter. They struggle, they know they're going to be slaughtered. And they cry, and they refuse to go. You pull them also, they put down their two legs. And then when you continue to pull them, tears come down their eyes. Even presently, even like on certain Muslim festivals, they slaughter the cows. Even you can see some of them, the tears come down. Many years ago, when I was working in Kuantan, one morning I went to work. I drove past by the road. I saw a dead calf. Later, I found out from one of the office mates around midnight, one taxi running very fast. Some of these cows, they like to sleep on the road because the road is warm. So this calf got hit by the taxi and died. So from midnight, the mother, so loving, was trying to wake up this calf, was licking the calf. So at 8 o'clock when I went to office, I passed this cow. I saw the cow there licking the baby, trying to revive the baby, licking. And then around noon, when I went out for, around lunchtime, I went out for lunch. Again, I saw the cow still there, trying to wake up the baby, licking the baby. So you see the mother's love for the baby, you can see even in that cow. At least 12 hours she was just there trying to revive the baby. So you see how much sort of pain she felt when her baby got killed by this cow. So you can see this, some of these animals have this human nature. Also, one of our members, the father told me that one of his friends went hunting and they shot this monkey, and the monkey with the baby. The monkey fell down. The monkey pleaded with the hunter, put the two palms together and bowed to the hunter 3 times, And the hunter saw that, he was so moved. From that day onwards, he hung up his gun, refused to go hunting anymore, gave up hunting. So that's why from some of these animal behavior, you can believe that some of them were humans before and reborn in the animal realm. So we have to be very careful. If we don't want to be reborn as an animal, we must not have this animal nature. Otherwise, we can be reborn. You see the difference between the animal and the hell realm is that even though the animal realm, they suffer so much, yet if the pain is too great, they can die. That's a blessing. Like if you torture an animal, the pain is too great, you cannot stand, you will die. But in hell, you get tortured, you want to die, you cannot die. So the suffering in hell is much, much worse than the animal realm. Now we come to the ghost. Ghost in the Pali is called Peta. Peta, ghost. The ghost realm is better than the animal realm. And a lot of human beings are reborn in the ghost realm because of lack of merit. We haven't done enough good. Problem with people, a lot of people, they think, I have not done evil, why should I do good? The problem is that they don't understand is that we are here in the human state because of past good karma, because of past blessings. And every day that we enjoy life, we are using up our good karma. It's like a bank account, you have money in the bank, but every day if you keep on withdrawing, and you don't put in, top up your bank account, one day it's going to go into the red, right? You're going to finish all your money. So it's the same with our blessings. We keep enjoying life. We are using our blessings. And we have to make sure that we top up by doing more good. Otherwise, without enough blessings, we'll be reborn in the ghost realm. Now, also, some beings in the ghost realm are there because they have come up either from the hell or from the animal realm. And so they are there, and in the ghost realm also sometimes they can be suffering. In the Samyutta Nikaya, there are several suttas concerning this ghost which the Venerable Moggallana saw. Venerable Moggallana was a monk with psychic powers, and every morning he would come down the hill, So he used to come down, he was staying in that hill with another monk by the name of Lakkana. So this Lakkana, he didn't have psychic power. So sometimes when they came down the hill, this Venerable Moggallana, he stopped because he saw something. Then he was looking at something and he smiled. Then Venerable Lakkana asked him, why are you smiling? Then this Venerable Moggallana told him, don't ask me the question now. Wait until we are with the Buddha, then you ask the question. So they came down the hill, then they went on the alms round. Then after the alms round, they came back. They went to the monastery where the Buddha was, and they ate their food. And after eating the food, they went to see the Buddha, and other monks were there. Then when the other monks were there, and this Venerable Lakkana asked the Venerable Moggallana the same question. When we were coming down the hill, Venerable Moggallana, what did you see that made you smile? Then Venerable Moggallana explained what he saw on different occasions, and there are very, very different suttas, where he saw different types of ghosts. There's once he saw a ghost flying by and being attacked by vultures and crows and falcons and other birds, and this ghost was crying out in pain, and then and so Venerable Moggallana said that. So some of them, they did not quite believe him. Then they asked the Buddha whether it's true. Then the Buddha said, yes, it's true. The Buddha said he saw this ghost also previously, but he did not speak it out. He waited for this time until other of his disciples would see. Then they asked the Buddha, who was this man? What did he do that he was reborn as this type of ghost? Then the Buddha said that he was a cattle butcher in the same town. And because he was a cattle butcher, probably he was reborn in hell. And after suffering in hell, perhaps his karma was not worked out yet. He was reborn as this ghost and still to suffer some more. Then other times, another type of ghost Venerable Moggallana saw was a ghost flying with arrows, which were sticking to his body, and as he flew, the arrows sort of went up and down and poked him, and he was crying. And then again, when they asked the Buddha, what did this man do to be reborn in that state? The Buddha said, oh, this man was a judge before, a corrupt judge. That's why he was born there. Then there was another type of ghost who was born with javelins on his body, sharp javelins, which poked him as he flew, and he was crying. And the Buddha said he was a deer hunter before. And then there was another man, another ghost, with knives on his body. One went through his head, came out to his mouth. Another knife entered his mouth and came out to his chest. Another entered his chest and came out to his belly. Another entered his belly and came out to his thigh. Another entered his thigh and came out to his shin. Another entered his shin and came out to his foot. And the Buddha said this man was a slanderer before. He used to talk bad about other people. And sometimes, when you talk bad about other people, you make up stories, also lies about other people. So Buddha said that was his result. And then there was another person who was in another ghost in a dung pit, in a hole full of shit. And this ghost was living in the dung pit. And the Buddha said this man was an adulterer before, committed adultery, dirtied his body, so his body was now in a shit hole. Then there was another ghost in a dung pit, eating shit. It's living in the shit hole and eating shit. And the Buddha said this man was a Brahmin before, in the previous Buddha Kassapa's time. And this Brahmin, he did not like the Buddhist monks because he was a different religion. So one day he invited the monks to his house. He had all these pots and pans ready, But inside all these pots and pans, he put all the shit. So when the monks came, he opened up all these pots and pans and he asked them to help themselves to all the shit. He thought it was a big joke, but in the end, he was suffering, eating shit himself. Then there was another ghost, which was a smelly, ugly woman, flew by and also attacked by these vultures and crows and falcons. And the Buddha said this woman was a fortune teller before. So sometimes, fortune tellers, they have to tell lies to make a living. So they reborn in that state. Then there was another ghost, headless ghost. No head, but on his chest, he had eyes and his mouth was on his chest. And also he flew by and also attacked by all these birds. And then the Buddha said, this man was a bandit Harika before. So this bandit Harika, either he beheaded other people or he was caught and beheaded by the king. So when he was reborn as a ghost, he didn't have a head. Then another time, the Venerable Moggallana saw a ghost fly by wearing robes. And the robes were on fire and his body was on fire and he was crying. And the Buddha said, this was a corrupt monk before, during the Buddha Kassapa's time. He misbehaved himself as a monk. So he was reborn as a ghost, still wearing the robes and suffering badly. This type of ghosts, without psychic power, we are not able to see. But many people have actually seen ghosts. I have talked with several people who have seen ghosts, and I am sure there are some of you in this room who have also seen ghosts and had some experience with ghosts. It has even come out in the newspaper that previously I have read certain places where during the Japanese occupation they tortured people, and later, because many people were tortured and died there, and later the place was haunted and they saw these ghosts. For example, I read about one place they saw this ghost who had all these knife cuts on his hand, because last time these Japanese soldiers, they wanted to get information from people and they tortured you. So what they did was they cut your body with a knife, and then they put salt there. Then you suffer, get information. So you see, this thing sticks in our memory. So after that person died, is reborn as a ghost. These things, marks are still there. And also some old homes, they tend to be haunted because along the way sometimes, usually like the person who built the home, the first person who built the home, he's very attached to the home. And if he does not have enough blessings, he's reborn as a ghost, and he stays in that house because he feels this is my house. And sometimes if he used to stay in a particular room, and you go and stay in that room, he's not happy. That ghost is not happy. He'll disturb you if you stay in that room. If you stay in other rooms, he won't disturb you. Because I've talked with people who have this kind of experience. Only when they stay in a particular room, they are haunted by that ghost. And very recently I talked with an Englishman because he came to stay in our monastery. And he also told me as a young man, he also had experience. They stayed in a house that was built on an old farmhouse. So he said when he, in his younger days, one night, he saw this ghost farmer just come in. The door was closed, but this ghost just walked through the wall, So he saw this old farmer just take off his coat, lay it aside. Then he looked in astonishment, because the door is closed. How come this man just walked in? Then the ghost just disappeared. Then he told his brother about it. And then one night, he and his brother was downstairs. And then this ghost again came. And both of them saw the ghost. And the ghost just Same thing, just took off his coat and then just disappeared. Sometimes incidences like this, is because the ghost just wants you to know that he is there. Because these beings like ghosts and devas, they have psychic power. If they want you to see, you are able to see them. If they don't want you to see, you can't see them. Unless you have psychic power yourself. And then these sometimes a person before he dies, and that person is going to be reborn in the ghost realm, you can know, one of our Buddhist supporters, he told us this real story about the auntie. The auntie had a very nasty temper and a very bad nature, always talking bad about others. So because of property division, she was unhappy and she was always cursing her relatives. And then because her temper was so bad, when she was old, the children found it difficult to take care of her. The children put her in when she was old, the children found it difficult to take care of her. The children put her in a nursing home. When she was in the nursing home, also was cursing the children. So one day, this man who told me this story, he passed by the nursing home. He saw the cousins, 3 of the cousins' cars were outside the nursing home. So he thought that the auntie, something happened to the auntie, passed away or something. So he stopped his car and he went into the nursing home. And then he saw his cousins around the mother, the auntie. And what he saw shocked him. Apparently what happened was this lady was very agitated and was shouting and becoming violent and all that, and nobody could control her. So they called the doctor and the doctor gave her a jab and she fell asleep. So when she was sleeping there, this man who told me, he saw the auntie. He was shocked because there were 2 long teeth protruding from the auntie's mouth, like Dracula teeth, protruding from the mouth. And that was 2 days before the auntie died. And they thought maybe try to cover her, they tried to close her mouth. Couldn't close it, couldn't close the teeth. You could close the other teeth, but these 2 long teeth couldn't close. So, for 2 days, they saw this on the old lady, until she died. At the moment she died, the 2 teeth disappeared. That probably showed that she was going to be reborn as that type of ghost, because her nature was like that. And so, after she died, she sort of left the body so that we couldn't see it anymore. So sometimes these kind of things are frightening, and when we hear it, it's a warning to us. If we have that type of nature, we'll be reborn as that type of ghost. And this is the second person to tell me about this type of ghost. There was another man came to visit me. In fact, 3 of them came to visit me where I was staying in Penang, up the Penang hill. So the 3 of them were interested in meditation. So they came to visit me when they heard there was a monk up in that cave. So because they were not Buddhists, I tried to talk to them a bit about the Buddha's teachings. That the Buddha taught a lot of things that were not taught in other religions, like about a lot of unseen beings and all that. So I asked them whether they believe, and one of them immediately said that he believed. And I asked him why, and I asked him whether he saw anything. He said yes. He said he saw a ghost. Then I asked him to explain to me, to tell me. He said one night he was driving back around midnight. He saw one lady in white walking by the road. Then it struck him very strange, around midnight, a lady walking alone by the roadside. Then he remembered that people said that this stretch of road was haunted. And he also remembered people said that if you see a ghost, very often the feet don't touch the ground. So he thought he will drive slowly to see whether this was true. So he drove slowly, Then sure enough, he saw that the feet was not touching the ground. Then because he was so near, he said the ghost turned around to look at him. Then when he saw the ghost, he saw the face, he saw the 2 teeth protruding. He got so frightened that quickly drove home. And then he said when he reached home, his feet couldn't stop shaking for 45 minutes. So this is the second person to tell me that he saw this type of ghost. In fact, only last year, where we come from in Timor, one man, he had an accident. Timor man had an accident and he died. And then a few days later, it seems his ghost came back to the house. Because at night, around midnight, they could hear someone crying outside the house. And most of them, the neighbors, they are frightened, they dare not look. One of the children, he looked and he saw, sometimes children can see things that adults cannot see. So this young girl saw, and the young girl cried. They asked her what she saw. She said she saw this neighbor's, the children's father outside the house crying. And he said it's not tears that came down the eyes, it was blood coming down the eyes. So, of course, some of these things, there is nothing to prove that it's true, but from experiences of a lot of people, you can, or I gather that ghosts exist. Sometimes these ghosts, they let us know their presence because they need help from us. For example, like Chinese, we believe that if your relative passes away after 7 days, the relative will come back, right? And sometimes they do come back, and they do give you signs that they come back. And if they give you signs that they come back, it's very probable that they are reborn as a ghost. And also they let you know because they need some help. One of my supporters in Penang, a few years ago, he told me, he came to see me. He told me that was around Chinese New Year time. He had a brother who died about 10 years earlier. And this younger brother was like to drink liquor. And he mixed with not very good friends. So one day after drinking liquor, he came back on a motorcycle and he had an accident. And this vehicle went over his body and he died. And after nearly 10 years, one day, this supporter of mine, around Chinese New Year, the elder sister came back from Kuala Lumpur to Penang, went to stay with the mother. And the younger brother's ghost entered her body and called out the elder brother's name, looking for this elder brother who was my supporter. So the mother got a shock. The mother asked him, "Who are you?" Then this ghost said his name, as the son's name. And he was looking for his brother. Then the mother was frightened. The mother asked him you go back where you came from. Then he left. So the brother asked me, what he should do. So I told him, evidently, your brother is now in a very, I forgot to say, he said also that he was very hungry and that his stomach was in pain. Probably the vehicle went over the stomach, so he was still feeling the pain. So you see, ghosts normally, they have difficulty finding food. And the other thing that we believe is they have difficulty getting clothes. So normally for Theravada Buddhists, if our relative have passed away, then we try to do this merit for them by offering food and robes or a piece of cloth to monks and transfer the merit to them. So I told him to do this, to go to different temples and offer food and offer robe and transfer the merit to the brother. But I told him before doing that dana, that offering, a few nights before, say like for 3 successive nights, burn an incense and you tell your brother that you're going to do this offering on his behalf. so that the merit goes to him. So he did this. He did this for several days in different temples. And then after that, no news from the brother. No news is good news. So you see the strange thing, why did the brother not come to him earlier? After 10 years only the brother came to him. Why? Because earlier he was not interested in Buddhism. Earlier he was not. So it was only recently that he began to have an interest in Buddhism, coming to see monks and coming to learn the Dhamma. So the ghost brother probably realized that now his brother is able to help him, whereas earlier the brother was not able to help him. So that's why the brother came to see him. And nowadays, in the West, people also believe in ghosts because they have this infrared photography, where they go to haunted houses and they photograph. They're able to photograph ghosts and they're able to record ghost voices. Now, the last thing I want to say is that sometimes when our relative passes away and we want to do some merit for them, and we want to know whether actually we are able to do some merit for them. And actually in one of the discourses of the Buddha, a Brahmin came to ask the Buddha. The Brahmin said, Bhagavan, when our relative passes away, we offer food and then we burn the food. Does our relative actually get the food offering? The Buddha said it depends on where your relative is reborn. Fortunately, if you have difficulty, you sit on the chair. So the Buddha said, if the relative is reborn in heaven, he won't be able to get the whatever merit you do, and anyway in heaven he doesn't need it. If the relative is reborn as a human being, also you can't help him. If the relative is reborn in the animal realm, also you can't help him. If the relative is reborn in hell, he also won't get the merit you do. Only if the relative is reborn as a ghost. Then the Brahmin asked the Buddha, what if my relative is not born as a ghost? Then the Buddha said, if this relative is not reborn as a ghost, you probably have other relatives who are still in the ghost realm and they will get it. Other relatives meaning probably other relatives in this lifetime or previous lifetime. Then the Buddha said, even in the extreme case where you don't have any relative in the ghost realm, then you will get the merit because you have done good. You have done this offering, you will get the merit. Now the Buddha did not explain why only ghosts can get the merit. But I think it is because only ghosts come back. Only ghosts are able to come back. And because ghosts, they suffer, when they are suffering, they think who can help them. And they think, maybe my son or my daughter will still think of me. So they come back hoping for us to help them. So if we dream of ghosts, or we see this ghost, probably it's one of our past relatives, or trying to get some help from us. So even if it's not our relative, if they just need some help, then we still do whatever charity we can, and tell them that we are doing it for them and transfer the merit to them. So I think I can stop here at this stage, and then you have questions. This is so far tonight. I've talked about these 3 woeful planes. It's a bit frightening and a bit maybe depressing, but later we'll talk about the human plane and the heavenly plane, and then you can see how much happiness there is there compared to the woeful plane. But if it is frightening, it is good, because you should take that as a warning so that we don't get reborn into these woeful planes of rebirth. So gone through 3. the three woeful planes, hell, animal realm, and the ghost realm. And that was the three dukkati, woeful destinations. Now we come to the two sugati, happy destinations of rebirth. The first one is the Manusa Loka, human realm, and then later we go to the Deva, the heavenly realm. Now, the human realm, at the moment our lifespan of humans is approximately 70, 75 for women. But this human lifespan in the Digha Nikaya Sutta 26 is described, varies from 10 years to 80,000 years. And to give you the details, I'd like to read from the Sutta itself, give you a very clear idea. Now, when people's lifespan is very long, 80,000 years, and at that time they have a lot of blessings, and a universal monarch or wheel-turning king appears in the world. This man is such a good king that the whole world wants him to be the king, and so he rules over the whole world. And the reason why he's so popular, because he uses Dhamma to rule the world. He does not use force, and he helps those who are in need, and it's good to everybody, so that everybody is well and prosperous. But there will come a time when the king who takes over does not rule according to how he should rule, and then problem starts to develop. So I'll read to you how this king he did not know the duties of a wheel-turning monarch or universal monarch. And the Sutta said, instead he ruled the people according to his own ideas. And being so ruled, the people did not prosper so well as they had done under the previous kings. For example, he did not give property to the needy. This is from the Sutta. He did not give property to the needy, and as a result, poverty became rife. With the spread of poverty, a man took what was not given, thus committing what was called theft. They arrested him and brought him before the king, saying, Your Majesty, this man took what was not given, which we call theft. The king said to him, Is it true that you took what was not given, which is called theft? And he said, It is, Your Majesty. Why? Your Majesty, I have nothing to live on. Then the king gave the man some property, saying, With this, my good man, you can keep yourself, support your mother and father, keep a wife and children, carry on a business, and make gifts to ascetics and Brahmins, which will promote your spiritual welfare and lead to a happy rebirth with pleasant result in the heavenly sphere. Very good, Your Majesty, replied the man. And exactly the same thing happened with another man. Then people heard that the king was giving away property to those who took what was not given, and they thought, suppose we were to do likewise. And then another man took what was not given, and they brought him before the king. The king asked him why he had done this, and he replied, Your Majesty, I have nothing to live on. Then the king thought, if I give property to everybody who takes what is not given, this theft will increase more and more. I had better make an end of him, finish him off once for all, and cut his head off. So he commanded his men, bind this man's arms tightly behind him with a strong rope, shave his head closely, and lead him to the rough sound of a drum through the streets and squares and out through the southern gate, and there by inflicting the capital penalty and cutting off his head. And they did so. Hearing about this, people thought, now let us get sharp swords made for us, and then we can take from anybody what is not given. We will make an end of them, finish them off once for all, and cut off their heads. So having procured some sharp swords, they launched murderous assaults on villages, towns and cities, and went in for highway robbery, killing their victims by cutting off their heads. Thus, from the not giving of property to the needy, poverty became rife. From the growth of poverty, the taking of what was not given increased. From the increase of theft, the use of weapons increased. From the increased use of weapons, the taking of life increased. And from the increase in the taking of life, people's lifespan decreased, their beauty decreased. And as a result of this decrease of lifespan and beauty, the children of those whose lifespan had been 80,000 years lived for only 40,000. And a man of the generation that lived for 40,000 years took what was not given. He was brought before the king, who asked him, "Is it true that you took what was not given?" which is called theft. "No, your majesty," he replied, thus telling a deliberate lie. Thus from the taking of property from the not giving of property to the needy, etc., as before, the taking of life increased. And from the taking of life, lying increased. And from the increase in lying, people's lifespan decreased, their beauty decreased, and as a result, the children of those whose lifespan had been 40,000 years lived for only 20,000. And a man of the generation that lived for 20,000 years took what was not given. Another man denounced him to the king, saying, "Sire, such and such a man has taken what was not given," thus speaking evil of another. Thus from the not giving of property to the needy, etc., etc., the speaking of evil of others increased, and in consequence people's lifespan decreased, their beauty decreased, and as a result the children of those whose lifespan had been 20,000 years lived only for 10,000. And the generation that lived for 10,000 years, some were beautiful and some were ugly. And those who were ugly, being envious of those who were beautiful, committed adultery with others' wives. Thus, from the not giving of property to the needy, etc., etc., sexual misconduct increased, and in consequence people's lifespan decreased, their beauty decreased, and as a result the children of those whose lifespan had been 10,000 years lived for only 5,000. And among the generation whose lifespan was 5,000 years, two things increased: harsh speech and idle chatter, in consequence of which people's lifespan decreased, their beauty decreased, and as a result, the children of those whose lifespan had been 5,000 years lived, some for 2,500 years, and some for only 2,000. And among the generation whose lifespan was 2,500 years, covetousness and hatred increased. Covetousness is greed for other people's things and wanting other people's things. And in consequence, people's lifespan decreased, their beauty decreased, and as a result, the children of those whose lifespan had been 2,500 years lived for only 1,000. Among the generation whose lifespan was 1,000 years, false opinions increased, and as a result, the children of those whose lifespan had been 1,000 years lived for only 500. And among the generation whose lifespan was 500 years, three things increased: incest, that means sexual misconduct between relations, excessive greed and deviant practices. And as a result, the children of those whose lifespan had been 500 years lived, some for 250 years, some for only 200. And among those whose lifespan was 250 years, these things increased: lack of respect for mother and father, for ascetics and Brahmins, and for the head of the clan. Thus from the not giving of property to the needy, etc., etc., lack of respect for mother and father, for ascetics and Brahmins, and for the head of the clan increased, and in consequence people's lifespan and beauty decreased. And the children of those whose lifespan had been 2.5 centuries lived for only 100 years. Monks, a time will come when the children of these people will have a lifespan of 10 years, and with them girls will be marriageable at 5 years old, and with them these flavors will disappear: ghee, butter, sesame and salt. Among them, kudrusa grain will be the chief food, just as rice and curry are today. And with them, the 10 causes of moral conduct will completely disappear, and the 10 causes of evil will prevail exceedingly. For those of a 10-year lifespan, there will be no word for moral. So how can there be anyone who acts in a moral way? Those people will have no respect for mother or father, for ascetics and Brahmins, for the head of the clan, will be the ones who enjoy honor and prestige. Just as it is now, the people who show respect for mother and father, for ascetics and Brahmins, for the head of the clan, who are praised and honored, so it will be with those who do the opposite. Among those of a 10-year lifespan, no account will be taken of mother or aunt, of mother's sister-in-law, of teacher's wife, or of one's father's wives, and so on. All will be promiscuous in the world, like goats and sheep, fowl and pigs, dogs and jackals. Among them, fierce enmity will prevail one for another, fierce hatred, fierce anger, and thoughts of killing. Mother against child, and child against mother, father against child, and child against father, brother against brother, brother against sister. Just as the hunter feels hatred for the beast he stalks. And for those of a 10-year lifespan, there will come to be a short interval of 7 days, during which they will mistake one another for wild beasts. Sharp swords will appear in their hands, and thinking there is a wild beast, they will take each other's lives with those swords. But there will be some beings who will think, let us not kill or be killed by anyone. Let us make for some grassy thickets or jungle recesses or clumps of trees, or rivers hard to ford or inaccessible mountains, and live on roots and fruits of the forest. And this they will do for 7 days. Then at the end of the 7 days, they will emerge from their hiding places and rejoice together of one accord, saying, good beings, I see that you are alive. And then the thought will occur to those beings, it is only because we became addicted to evil ways that we suffered this loss of our kindred. So let us now do good. What good things can we do? Let us abstain from the taking of life. That will be a good practice. And so they will abstain from the taking of life, and having undertaken this good thing, will practice it. And through having undertaken such wholesome things, they will increase in lifespan and beauty. And the children of those whose lifespan was 10 years will live for 20 years. Then it will occur to those beings, it is through having taken to wholesome practices that we have increased in lifespan and beauty. So let us perform still more wholesome practices. Let us refrain from taking what is not given, from sexual misconduct, from lying speech, from slander, from harsh speech, from idle chatter, from covetousness, from ill will, from wrong views. Let us abstain from 3 things, incest, excessive greed, and deviant practices. Let us respect our mothers and fathers, ascetics and Brahmins, and the head of the clan, and let us persevere in these wholesome actions. And so they will do these things. And on account of this, they will increase in lifespan and in beauty. The children of those whose lifespan is 20 years will live to be 40. Their children will live to be 80. Their children to be 160. Their children to be 320. Their children to be 640. The children of those whose lifespan is 640 years will live for 2,000 years. Their children for 4,000. Their children for 8,000, and their children for 20,000. The children of those whose lifespan is 20,000 years will live to be 40,000, and their children will attain to 80,000 years. Among the people with an 80,000 year lifespan, girls will become marriageable at 500, and such people will know only 3 kinds of disease: greed, fasting, and old age. And in the time of those people, this continent of Jambudvipa will be powerful and prosperous, and villages, towns, and cities will be but a cock's flight from one from the next. This Jambudvipa, like Avicii hell, will be as thick with people as the jungle is thick with reeds and rushes. At that time, the Varanasi of today will be a royal city called Ketumati, powerful and prosperous, crowded with people and well supplied. In Jambudvipa, there will be 84,000 cities headed by Ketumati as the royal capital. And at that time, And in the time of the people with an 80,000 year lifespan, there will arise in the world a blessed Lord, Arahant Sammasambuddha named Metteyya or Maitreya. So that is the description how people deteriorate because of not having morals. Just as nowadays you find the children are getting more and more immoral and doing more and more immoral things. So there is more crime and slowly people's lifespan will decrease. This description is not that strange that people can live up to 80,000 years, because you find like in the Bible they mention about Moses and Abraham and those people who lived for tens of thousands of years also. In the Samyutta Nikaya, Sutta 15.20, our Buddha mentioned that in this present world, this earth, there was a time when the Buddha Kakusanda appeared, and at that time people's lifespan was 40,000 years. Then later, another Buddha appeared by the name of Kona Gamana. At that time, people's lifespan was 30,000 years. And much later, another Buddha appeared by the name of Kassapa, which is our present Buddha's previous teacher. At that time, people's age was 20,000 years. And then the Buddha said, now I am the Buddha that has appeared in this world, and people's age is only about 100 years. So you see, even human beings, there is a wide range of difference. You can see nowadays, for example, you compare people in Europe and America who have a very good life. You compare them with people in Africa who are suffering a lot. Like even AIDS recently came from Africa, and then they have this new disease. What's the name of that book? Ebola. Also, people there are dying there of that disease, and there's a lot of hunger. Sometimes you see in the photos in the newspaper, they look like hungry ghosts and so thin. So there's a great variety, change, and this human beings, great variety of them. But after listening to the description of hell and the ghost realm and the animal realm, we should be very, very happy as a human being. We are in a happy plane of rebirth. That's why we are in the Sugati, happy destination of rebirth. But one thing, sometimes we don't count our blessings. Recently I tell you a real story of a Malaysian man. Now we have economic recession. So this man, he was a businessman. His business went bankrupt, so he had to work for somebody else, and he was getting a salary of about $1,600. He had to support his wife and children. He was pretty unhappy, but he had some money left over from his business, so he went to India. And India people are very poor. So one day he was out walking, then he went to a bread store. He wanted to buy some bread. There were a lot of children as usual around trying to beg for money. Too many of them to give. So he was distracted by the children. He knocked some bread down. So when the bread fell on the ground, all the children went to scramble for the bread. So this lady selling the bread caught one of the children, took a knife and chopped off the fingers of that child. He had a shock. I never seen such a horrible thing. This woman chopping off the fingers of this child. So this child was crying. So this lady took a cloth and wiped his hand, the blood from his hand. And as she was wiping his hand, this lady was also crying. The child was crying, the lady was crying. So this Malaysian man asked the lady, why did you do such a thing? You only wanted some bread. And this lady said, this child is my son. She said, I have to do this so that he can beg for some food, beg for some money. Otherwise people won't give. So you see, they go to the extent of cutting off their own sons' fingers just to beg for money. They're so disgusted, I took out his money from his pocket, bought all the bread there and gave all the children. And after that, he came back to Malaysia, never complained again. Here 1,006 ringgit in Malaysia, very happy. We always we forget about other people, how they suffer much more than us. We always compare with somebody better than us. We always compare with the ghosts and the animals, and we'll be very happy as human beings. So our human realm is a very critical, decisive realm, because as human beings we create a lot of karma. Every day we use our thinking mind, and that determines the next few rebirths. Unlike the other realms, the other destinations of rebirth, where either they suffer or they enjoy the result of their past karma, and they don't create so much karma as human beings. We are in the middle, so we create a lot of karma. So we have to be very, very careful, because in the sutta it is said that the effect of karma is long lasting. It lasts for many lifetimes. So now we come to the heavenly realms. Firstly, the 6 heavenly realms in the central realm, the 6 heavenly planes in the central realm. Slightly above us, the lowest heaven is called the Chatu Maharajika heaven, the heaven of the 4 great heavenly kings. This is the lowest heaven, and they are nearest to us. This plane, this heavenly plane, one day in the heaven there is 50 years of human years, 50 human years. You see, our human day in the world, one day is the sun turning, the sun going around. Actually, our Earth turning around its axis. So we see the sun rising in the morning, and then it sets in the evening, and then the next morning it appears again. That is one day. That is just the world turning on its axis. As far as the devas in the higher, they are not. Some of them are not affected by this. So the lifespan of the 4 great heavenly kings is 500 celestial years. In terms of human years, it is 9 million human years. So long. That is why the Buddha said that as a human being, the happiest state you can be is to be a universal monarch, where you rule over the whole world, either as a king or as a queen. That is the happiest existence you can have. At that time, also the longest for a human being, 80,000 years. And yet, the 80,000 years is nothing compared to the lowest Deva realm, which is 9 million human years, so long. And because they have psychic power, they surpass us, surpass the human realm. So these 4 great heavenly kings, the leaders of this heavenly plane, the first one is, according to Sutta, to the north, is the king of the Yaksas. He's called Kuvera or Vesavana. That is the king of the Yaksas. And Yaksas have something like a human body, but they are fierce, and they fight and they kill also for their food. And then the second one to the south is Virulhaka, king of the Kumbandas. There's the Kumbandas, this type of devas are not described in our suttas, but I've seen some book that says that they are some kind of deva which is very huge, and sometimes they play a joke on us. Sometimes people who go survey in the hills and all that, or when they come back late in the evening, it seems this deva, according to some book, will sit on the ground. Then you cannot find your way, you lose your way. You walk all around his body, you come back to the same place. You walk all around and come back to the same place. So until the next morning only, when he's tired of playing this game with you, he goes off and then you can find your way. And the third one is the Gandhabas. The king of the Gandhabas is called Dattarata. Gandhabas are tree spirits. And the Buddha said, in a big tree, you have many of these Gandhaba spirits. Some like to live particularly in the leaves, some like to live in the branches, some like to live in the bark of the tree, some like to live in the flowers, some like to live in the hardwood, some like to live in the roots, etc. Now it appears like the bigger the tree, sometimes the more powerful the Gandhaba spirit in the tree. And sometimes people who chop down trees, you have to be careful because some of these spirits, they can be quite fierce. About a month or two ago, I went to Telok Intan and some lady was telling me that one of the women in her village chopped down an old mango tree. And then this spirit in the tree was very angry with her and possessed her, and she became like mad. And year after year, her condition is deteriorating. Went to see doctor, couldn't do anything. Even went to see Bomo and other type of this witch doctor. But this spirit was so fierce that they couldn't do anything to help. And then the fourth one is the king of the Nagas by the name of Virupaka. Nagas are snake spirits. So these are the four main kings in this plane of the four great heavenly kings. There are other lesser Devarajas, king of the Devas. And then probably inside this group, which is not mentioned also, you have these earth Devas, river Devas, sea Devas, mountain Devas, cloud Devas, then Garudas. Garudas are these bird Devas, sometimes called Supana. According to the Buddha, this cloud and tree Devas are more straightforward, whereas like the snake spirits and the Garudas, the bird spirits, they are more crooked, more fierce. And sometimes these Devas, even though they are so fierce, they also, some of them like to listen to the Dhamma. Now, it is also mentioned by the Arahant Moggallana, because he had great psychic power, that in the middle of the ocean, he could see mansions in the middle of the ocean, lasting a world cycle. They are shining. Where these iridescent sea nymphs dance in complex, intricate rhythms. So you see, inside the ocean also a lot of these spirits. That's why sometimes people go in ships, sometimes the ships capsize, sometimes can be due to these spirits. Now, Naga being a snake spirit, has an animal nature, just like this Garuda. Even though they are considered in the heavenly plane of existence, some of them have an animal nature like this Naga. There was a time during the Buddha's time, one Naga, snake spirit, he took the form of a human being because he was ashamed of his snake body, because they have psychic power, they can change their form. So he took the form of a human being and became a monk. But according to the Buddha, there are two times when the snake spirit cannot hide its body. One is when it falls asleep and loses consciousness. There is no more conscious. The second time is during sexual intercourse. So this Naga, he was sharing a kuti, a dwelling with another monk. And then he was trying not to fall asleep because he knew that if he fell asleep, the monk would know that he's a snake spirit. So he was trying very hard not to fall asleep. And then this other monk went to sleep. So The other monk went to sleep, and then he wanted to go to sleep, but maybe he couldn't fall asleep. Or maybe he fell asleep, but he didn't get enough sleep. So the other monk woke up after a few hours of sleep and went out to do walking meditation out of the kuti, dwelling to do walking meditation. So this Naga, he thought there's a chance to fall asleep, so he fell asleep. Or maybe he was too tired, he fell asleep. So when he fell asleep, he changed into that huge snake spirit. So this monk, after doing his walking meditation, maybe for 1 hour or 2 hours, he came inside the kuti. When he opened the door, he saw this huge snake inside, so huge. He shouted in terror. So other monks came running. By this time, this snake spirit woke up and then quickly changed into the human form again. So they informed the Buddha about this, and the Buddha called the Naga and told the Naga to inform everybody who he was. So the Naga had no choice. He confessed that he was a Naga and he wanted to practice. That's why he changed in a human form. And the Buddha told him, it's no use. You won't be able to progress in the holy life. You go back, keep the 8 precepts as well as you can. So he wept and he went on. So because you see their nature is more of an animal than a human, that's why it's difficult for them to practice. The Buddha said a Naga, nature of a Naga, 2 things very prominent. One is the anger, the other one is the lust. So the anger is so great, you make him angry, he might just stare at you and you'll just die. So that is the Naga. The Buddha also mentioned that these devas, they have 4 ways, in fact beings, 4 ways of birth. One, the lowest is egg born. They are born in an egg like a bird. Born in an egg. Then they have to stay in that egg for some time before they break the shell and come out. So the second one, slightly higher, is born from the womb, like human beings or some animals like dogs. Then slightly higher, or higher still, is born from vapor, moisture, maybe some cloud spirits or what, born from the moisture. Then higher still is spontaneously reborn. Immediately they take the form of that deva or something. So it is mentioned that most devas are reborn either from moisture or spontaneously reborn. So it is also mentioned because the lowest is egg born. If a Naga and a Garuda both are egg born, then the Garuda can eat the Naga, can attack and eat the Naga. But if the Garuda is egg born and the Naga is womb born, higher, then the egg born Garuda bird cannot attack that snake spirit because he is higher. So similarly for the others. Now, in the suttas, it is mentioned the Buddha advised lay people to keep the 8 precepts on the Uposatha days, what we call the 8th day of the lunar calendar, the 15th day, the 23rd day, and the last day of the month, either 29th or 30th. Now, why did he choose these days? Because it is mentioned that on these days, these 4 days, these 4 great heavenly kings, either they come down personally or they send their sons or they send their ministers or something to come to the human realm and look at how human beings are doing. And if they find that human beings are quite law-abiding and keep the precepts and all that, and they are very happy, they report to the higher heaven. So that's why the Buddha advised people to keep the 8 precepts on those days. And the Buddha also said, if we want to be reborn in heaven, keeping the 8 precepts helps a lot. If we constantly keep the 8 precepts, the chances of being reborn in a heavenly plane is very great. Now, the next thing is, It's also mentioned in the Anguttara Nikaya that when human beings are corrupt and they are not law-abiding, etc., then the devas also become angry, and on those times when it should rain, they can stop the rain. And when it doesn't rain at the right season, sometimes there is famine and people die. And also it's mentioned that when human beings are corrupt and not law-abiding, they can also let loose some very fierce yakas, fierce heavenly beings, which can also cause havoc in the human realm, and people can die. It's also mentioned in the Digha Nikaya that devas can influence human beings to stay near them. If there are a lot of devas in a certain place, they can attract human beings, influence our minds to stay near them. Those powerful devas will attract powerful human beings. And similarly for other types of devas. Now, there is a sutta where one night, about 60 devas came to visit the Buddha. And they came to pay homage to the Buddha, talk to the Buddha. After that they left. And the Buddha was in his kuti, a small kuti. And yet they came and conversed with the Buddha. And the Buddha told his monks later that the reason why they were able to come was because 60 of them occupied a space no bigger than the point or the head of a needle. The point of a needle. Because of their psychic power, they can all come to one point, and yet they don't feel crowded. In one sutta also in the Anguttara Nikaya, there was a lady by the name of Nanda Mata. One night she was chanting, doing some chanting, and this king Vesavana, king of the Yakas, flew by and heard her chanting, came down to talk to her. So the reason this lady was able to talk to this deva is, it is mentioned in the sutta, if a person can attain the fourth jhana, a state of deep tranquility, then it is possible to see devas and to talk with them. Fourth jhana, a very deep state of concentration. Then these psychic abilities come. That is the four great heavenly kings.